Hi there, everybody, and welcome. My name is Gretchen Jordan, and I am the Alive Association Manager, and I'm very happy to work with Mark Smith, who will be presenting today's Alive Academy presentation. Community engagement is more than just recruitment. And Mark will be starting in just a moment. I'd like to do just a bit of quick housekeeping, but first I will show my screen. And I would encourage everybody to use the chat box today. That'll be the best way to communicate. I know that some of you don't have access to a microphone on your computer, or you may be just calling in from your phone. That's just fine. So a bit of housekeeping. You can type things into the chat box. I'll be monitoring that, and that'll be a great way to relay questions, comments. We'll do introductions that way in just a bit. But if you do have any questions, just let me know. There will be some discussion points, and if you do have a question or a discussion that you'd like to tell in person, just type in the chat box, I would like to say something, or I have a question, or I have a story to share, then just let me know, and then I can go in and unmute you so you can talk to everybody. But we did have quite a large turnout for today's webinar, and so we keep the lines automatically muted. So this really cuts down on that feedback and background noise. So don't worry about that. But I'm really excited to introduce Mark today. He is a member of the Alive Board of Directors, but he manages Project Angel Heart in Colorado, just right in the Denver area, and has been an active member of Dovia, Colorado for almost 10 years, I think, and has been very active with their local and state conferences in the past. And Mark, I really appreciate, he's got such a passion for community engagement, and I love working with him because he's such a can-do, positive person, and I really appreciate that about him. And he'll be telling you a little bit more about himself as he starts as well. And the other thing I would like to say is we are recording this presentation, so if you need to leave early, you can come back. You'll automatically get an email tomorrow, a little follow-up with some poll questions. We'd love to know what you thought about today's Alive Academy, and also a link to the recording. So you can go back and watch it at your leisure, or like I said, if you have to leave early, you can pick up, the rest later on as well. The Programs and Advocacy Committee for Alive is busy working on the 219 schedule, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that at the end, including what's coming up for the end of this year. But we're really excited to be able to provide these to you. And I would just like to give a quick shout out to Verified Volunteers for their sponsorship. Because of that was able for us to expand our online outreach by using this GoToWebinar platform, which allows us to record and share these great professional development items for you. And just one more thing before we get started. You will see on your little GoToWebinar control panel, there is a place for handouts. And you can click on that and you can download a PDF of Mark's presentation. And there's also another handout about one of our announcements, which you can look at a little bit later. But if you peek early, that's okay. We're not going to mind. So now I'm going to go ahead and advance the slides for Mark. And the first thing that we're going to do is some quick introductions. So Mark, I'll just introduce myself quickly. Mark, you can go, and then we're going to ask everyone else to just type their intro into the chat box so we can all see from there. So my name is Gretchen. I'm the Alive Association Manager, and I've been involved in managing volunteers and programs since last century. And I currently ran away from home, in a way. My husband and I live, work, and play full-time in a 41-foot motor coach, and we travel around the United States. And so I work remotely, and this is a perfect fit for me, being involved with Alive. Currently, I'm outside of Spokane, Washington, and I'll be heading east through northern Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Wisconsin, and Minnesota for the month of September. So maybe I'll get to wave as we go by. Mark, you want to go ahead? And what you're looking for to learn about everybody today.
You bet. Thank you, Gretchen. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I'll introduce myself a little bit. My name is Mark Smith, and as Gretchen said, I'm the Volunteer Resources Manager at Project Angel Heart here in Denver, Colorado. I oversee the volunteer department and our distribution department. And Project Angel Heart is a nutrition organization that prepares nutritious food in our state-of-the-art kitchen, and then we deliver it to them, to our clients, the meals, to our clients who are living with life-threatening illness, essentially to promote the power of food as medicine. So it's a very incredible program. I'm very excited to be there. Also excited that I get to serve on the Alive board. And I'd like to say a little word about Verified too. Verified Volunteers is a wonderful service. If you guys don't know about them, they're a background screening service that allows your volunteers to help offset the cost of the background check. Very professional group of folks. I've had the pleasure of working with them since the very beginning, and I would highly recommend, if you get a chance, to take a look at them. So let's go ahead and move on to some other introductions for the rest of the group that's joined us today. If you guys would go ahead and put in the chat box who you are, where you work, and your title, and maybe what you wanted to learn today from the seminar, that'd be great.
Mark, there's a lot of folks that are also using the question box, and so I'll just relay that because I understand not everybody can see that. But do use the chat box. That's the very last arrow at the bottom of your control panel. Jennifer Thompson, CVA, is in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. Bridget B. Wilson is a program specialist with Save the Children. Janice Ben is also here, and I believe she is from a county in Southern California, and I can't always remember the county, but I know it's where a lot of the fires were. So hearts and props go out to you, Janice, for all the work your colleagues are doing out there. And Emily Bauer here from San Francisco. Angie Dreyer's here from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Catherine Hampton is here with Idaho State Parks. Oh, thank you. Janice Ben is with Ventura County Volunteer Coordinator Council. And Casey Tennell is here from St. Paul, Minnesota, volunteer coordinator at the Ordway Center for the Performing Arts. Tavita Woodrich is here, the volunteer services director from Volunteer Florida. Hiya, everybody. Great. All right. And
so great to have everybody here.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So what we're looking for today is we're going to be asking for some group participation, because I really feel it's best that we have an opportunity to learn from each other. We have a lot of pretty amazing people in the room. So please be prepared to share with the group. I kind of like to look at this as maybe a peer-to-peer session, right, if we can. So now looking at this Wordle, you can see that many things are related to community engagement, right? It's not a complete list by any means, but it certainly is a start. So what defines community engagement? There really is no defined answer, because truthfully, it can mean so many different things to each agency. They each have different ways that they look at planning and projects and you know, follow through. So it really isn't a defined thing, but essentially for us, we're talking about where stakeholders can build ongoing mutually beneficial relationships. So if we can, let's get everybody to type in the chat box what words stand out to you in that Wordle.
Thanks, Mark. And while you're doing that, I will say that, let's see, Angela Williamson also chimed in. Hi, Angela. And she said she is from Williamson, Delaware, and she'll be with the Blood Bank of Delmarva in about a week. Congratulations.
Welcome, Angela.
All right, and I'm just going to read these off just in case someone is just calling in. Engagement from Angie. Angela says participation and public. Casey says participation, partnership, service, influence. Golly, I'm going to chime in too. I'm going to look at, golly, this is a great word, delivery.
Right? I think those are all important words. Yeah, is there anybody else that's got some? One that stands out to
Emily
me is
says,
people.
yeah, Emily says community engagement service participation.
Awesome. Well, we'll do our best to talk about a lot of these things today and how they maybe play into the role of engaging the community for you. So now let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And I'd like to hear some of the success stories that some of you may have had in engaging the community in ways other than volunteering. If you have a story, please type it in the chat box and we'll have Gretchen read it out to you. I'll go ahead and start with one that I have that I think is really special for us at Project Angel Heart. We had an organization that has done some in-kind donations and some volunteering for us. The organization is called Seattle Fish, and they're a local purveyor of seafood here in town, which is in Denver. So that's a little different, right? It's not an East Coast thing. So they came to us with an idea that they wanted to help the volunteer program. And I thought, what an opportunity, something that doesn't generally happen for volunteer programs anywhere. And they said they'd like to put $10,000 on the line to find ways to enhance our volunteer program. So we went through a list of ideas. Could we get some technology? Should we have some special T-shirts? Should we have special things for our volunteers? Gifts, maybe. We use cookies a lot at our agency, so we were thinking, do we increase our cookie count? But what we ended up coming down to was that we took that $10,000 and we leveraged it as a match for other corporations who were interested in sponsoring a meal for us at $1,000 level. So this essentially would double the $10,000 to $20,000. It would give Seattle Fish a lot of exposure on our website. They'd be the first thing folks saw when they went to our group corporate page. And it really, it changed the whole operation. The first year without that particular match, we saw 3 meal sponsorships. In our second year of doing this, we're up to 24 meal sponsorships. So it's really enhanced our agency and brought a lot of engagement. So Gretchen, are there some other stories that you'd like to read? Or does anybody
Mark,
want to be unmuted?
Anything yet?
My chat box says that my things are going to the organizer only. I wonder if I need another.
Yeah, everybody is using the question box, which is fine, and that's where I'm monitoring. So I don't see anything popping up yet.
I've got a couple other success stories I can tell you guys about too. One of our local restaurant supply company in town called Bar Green was looking for a way to get involved. They came over and took a tour, and even though they weren't interested in volunteering at this time, they did see that there was a need in our kitchen for some of our restaurant equipment to be upgraded. So that was a benefit that we weren't really expecting when we thought we might just get some volunteers from that. I'll tell you about another story that I think is pretty impressive. It happened to an animal rescue place, an animal shelter up in Fort Collins, Colorado. And it's a friend of mine works there. Her name is Mandy. I don't know if she was going to join us today, but I don't know if Mandy made it. But she had the opportunity to work with a realtor who was not looking to volunteer. But what the realtor decided to do, the best way that he could benefit the agency, was he decided that for 10 solid days, including 2 weekends, he would pay all the adoption fees for anybody who was interested in adopting an animal. So it took away that barrier, that obstacle for folks maybe who are interested in getting an animal.
Mark, it looks like Emily has one. I'm going to unmute her, and so she can tell her story. And I have one as well, which it still just amazes me a lot. So Emily, let me find you here and unmute you on the list. There we go. Okay, Emily, you should be unmuted. Go ahead.
And you can hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Hi.
Great.
Yes, I can.
Hi. I actually have two. One is an example from many years ago, and this was actually a volunteer-initiated community engagement. A lot of coffee, I'm here in San Francisco, and I was working at the time as the volunteer director at a homeless program with a day program for homeless and marginally housed. And one of our volunteers came up with the idea of going around by the way, this volunteer was also one of our clients, so he was in fact marginally housed and sometimes homeless. But he would go around to the coffee shops, and of course it's San Francisco, so there are a lot of coffee shops, at the end of the day and gather, or early in the morning, and gather the leftover pastries which had not been sold, and brought them back to the homeless program where we worked, so we could share this with the other clients. He did this, and it did two things. And he did this, by the way, with a grocery cart, which he probably shouldn't have, but he did this with a grocery cart, walking up and down the hills of San Francisco to get these bags of day-old pastries. These are actually regular programs that many coffee shops have, but the fact that he did it, he then presented himself. He was also he is a very good poet. So he would introduce himself. He would give people a different idea of who are the homeless in San Francisco. And he would also then get all of these different, coffee shops to learn a little bit more about the situation of homelessness in San Francisco. So it had multiple, and of course there were good pastries to share with the people who came into our day programs. So that was one really good example, I think, of engaging the community creatively. And I know there are a lot of other different programs in San Francisco today that do similar outreach kinds of programs to cafes. A second one was Meals on Wheels actually is doing this currently in San Francisco. And this has to do with corporate partnerships. And they have a lot of our new corporations like Twitter and Dolby and Google have new offices downtown San Francisco, very close to where we also have homeless housing, which we call SRO, single room occupancy housing, for people who are marginally housed. And the program that was established with Meals on Wheels is that part of the human resource orientation for new employees includes volunteering in a structured program where the new staff of these companies help us distribute food to the Meals on Wheels recipients in those SROs, which are literally around the corner from their offices. So again, real strong community engagement supported by the corporations themselves in the community that they are working. So those are two, I think, good examples of ways to do
Thanks,
this.
Emily. Mm-hmm. I'm going to mute you back again. I've got another great story from Jennifer in Oklahoma. And then maybe you'll want to move to the next slide after that, Mark. Jennifer says she had several Methodist churches come together to do some community service. And a local volunteer center referred them to our hospice. Working together, 40 volunteers cleaned up yards and built wheelchair ramps for several of our clients. The total of 180 hours, besides the help they gave to several clients, it opened their eyes to needs that really are in the community. They are reaching out every year to families in the community. Thank you, Jennifer.
Gretchen, if you want, why don't you go ahead and tell your story too?
Just briefly, a really different way of community engagement was that a colleague works at a food bank in Kansas City, Missouri, Paula Pratt, and they came upon the idea at their food bank of having birthday parties. and so it's a really different way to engage the community, because they could do birthday parties for, younger kids, and then also instead of the activity of like playing games or stuff, they go into the food bank and make baskets or, organize and sort cans, et cetera, et cetera. Kids were welcome to bring a gift of food in lieu of a toy or some sort of gift. And they just provided the space and a way to, to serve and store the cake and ice cream and such. But the community really responded. It became very popular, and there was even a young child whose family was so impressed, the dad came back a few weeks later with a big check to donate to the food bank, because they realized what a great community service that was. So that's another neat way, different way, that's kind of a win-win-win for the agency, a win for the families, and a win for the kids, teaching them about community service and how important that is.
That's an incredible example. And I think it shows that by just connecting to one dot, finding something that matters to those folks can open the door to a lot of other ways that they can become constituents for all the different agencies. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. This next slide, I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the things we do at Project Angel Heart. I think we do a fantastic job of engaging the community, and so I'm just going to tell you a little bit of the things that matter to us. We always look at what are some of the needs of our participants or our clients, or maybe even the program at Project Angel Heart, and then how can they engage our agency in maybe in other ways besides volunteering. Probably the most impactful one for us is that top one there, where folks in the community actually decorate bags for us. So we go through about 80,000 meal bags every single year. Our meals are served in a brown paper bag, maybe a kind of a grocery size. And so the community actually decorates those bags, essentially sending a message of love. So we have schools and senior centers, sororities, fraternities, corporations of all kinds come and get the bags from us. We were going to pay for them anyway. And then they decorate them and bring them back to us so that we can actually fill them with food for our clients. It's an incredible way for the community to connect with us, and over 7,000 people every year decorate those bags. So they know the impact that they're making and how much it matters to us, and yet it's not costing them anything but a little bit of time. And I think we all know how much we value their time, and when we show them we value their time, potentially they know we'll value their finances and money as well. It's an incredible opportunity. Maybe you have different things you give your recipients or participants throughout the year that you could put into a paper bag, maybe that somebody was able to decorate. I even found a lot of folks were wanting to purchase those bags for us, but since we use a very special bag that we use, that just didn't make sense, but they could certainly donate to purchasing the bags on our behalf. But perhaps you have an opportunity where they can actually purchase the bag and do the whole thing on their own. They could even do placemats. At Volunteers of America, I brought in several groups that had different levels of abilities that would do placemats, and that got exciting for corporations as well. Same thing with birthday cards. Maybe birthday cards and holiday cards is something that you don't do currently for some of the folks. We serve about 1,300 folks every single week, and so when it comes time for a holiday, and we serve every single holiday a special meal, we believe that a card is a really nice touch as well. So some of these little things where they can get involved with their group, or even on their own. I find a lot of high schoolers are interested in perhaps giving back, maybe when they can't actually come in and volunteer. But they can certainly decorate a bag. They can certainly do some birthday cards for us. Other low-impact ways, maybe a cereal drive. It's $2 for a box of cereal. Perhaps a food drive. Maybe you're collecting soup. Even a supplies drive. We found those to be incredibly impactful. At our office, we get a lot of used paper. We get a lot of office supplies donated to us, which is an unexpected bonus. Maybe you have hygiene packages that you need. This is a great way for the community to get involved, maybe without having to actually volunteer. And you'll find that corporations have a lot of power to promote what you're doing and your request. If you can get some of those stakeholders in for a tour, show them maybe one of your latest videos of the impact that is made from your program, and help them promote their good deeds. And we'll talk a little bit more about social media in a minute here. Some other great ideas, maybe adopting a room, sponsoring a meal, making cookies. we found, believe it or not, a corporation that said, oh my gosh, has anybody thought about making cookies? And so they said, we'd love to do that. And that was their idea. Pretty exciting for us. Even though we serve our cookies, they wanted to do a special holiday cookie. So lots of ways to get involved with those. Anybody have any other ideas on how you engage your constituents? Again, it's so different for every agency out there. Who are the constituents in your zone? Who are the ones that matter to you? Who are the ones that have access to help promote your program? Okay, we can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
Okay. No, I was just going to say I wasn't seeing any comments yet, but I'll go on to the next slide.
We're not getting much audience participation. I hope we're answering some of your questions today. So, wow, change priorities ahead. We talked about some of the successes, and boy, there were some pretty exciting ones to see how people connect. Does anybody have any failures or any challenges that have happened working with the community, and maybe advice they'd have for the group? I can start with one. I'll tell you about
Mark?
what happened. Yes, Gretchen.
Mark, I'm sorry. We did have a comment from Navarra. He says, we have a company that does a chili cook-off for the shelter guests, which is a great idea. Sounds delicious.
Oh, say that again, please.
Says that there's a company that does a chili cook-off for the shelter guests.
Oh, wow. Right. And I bet some of those cooks are pretty good. So taking some of the expertise of the constituents and matching it up for the guests. That's great, Navarra. Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any challenges or failures that they've had? And I'll go ahead and mention the one I was going to talk about. So a few years ago, we had a group come to us that wanted to do a fun run. They had this whole idea of blocking off a park, getting registrations, and essentially doing a fun run on a Saturday morning. And what we realized very soon as we were talking with them is that as an agency, we had no capacity nor expertise in this particular area. I imagine there were, and especially for those of you that have done a run of any kind, you probably know many more details than I do. But, there might be traffic issues, parking issues, police, first aid, registration, and I'm not sure that the benefit would have been any good for us. It probably would have been a disaster from our end, and it wouldn't have looked good. We wouldn't have served the community well, and it wouldn't have helped us to build a capacity or to strengthen our credibility. So does anybody else have any of those challenges that might have happened to them? I think some of the things you'll see along the way with those is that when you work with corporations or when you work with individuals, there's an awful lot of awareness now about social corporate responsibility. So the corporations want to make sure that they align with your mission, they align with your vision, that their values matter to you and to them as well. They're very socially aware. And there's a lot of buzzwords around, I've noticed as well, like fair trade, farm to table, sustainability, that a lot of corporations are using and that matter to them. And so if there's a way to tap into some of that and to be able to connect what they're doing to those things that matter and to talk about your sustainability and how you serve the community in that way, there'll be a long-term solution, I think, there for you. You also need to have some kind of retention plan. What we found is that when we have these one-offs that happen for those agencies, that they tend to lose interest after a while if you don't keep them engaged. So perhaps it's an every 6-month kind of opportunity that you're able to offer them. One of the things we also found is that whenever we go outside of what we normally do, whenever we really try to just bend it to an area that doesn't work, we don't normally offer any programming on Sunday, but guess what? We're going to open the kitchen and try to get volunteers to come in on a Sunday so we can show this one group of folks that we do it. It just never works right. And again, that credibility tends to go. So I always advise folks that it's great to step a little outside of the box, but maybe not so far out of the box that you can't get back. Right. And perhaps
Mark,
Sorry. Yes, Gretchen.
Oh, and I was just saying along with that, I've seen in a couple of news feeds now on social media that there's a couple of companies now that are paying people to go out and volunteer. And I know here in the Northwest, there's a local bank that will pay up to 8 hours, give up to 8 hours paid time off for people to go and volunteer. But I read something about Starbucks is now providing that as an employee benefit. And then I just saw a blog post this morning from Meridian Swift, who said there was a local restaurant that was closing to remodel, but while they were closed, they would still pay their employees if they went out to volunteer. And I thought, man, that's fantastic. But I hope they talk to the local community to let them know that there would be this happening. But I think that's a really neat, when you talk about that corporate social responsibility. And we've got a couple of comments here from Jovita. She talks about corporate social responsibility, and she said she received a lot of requests after Hurricane Irma, definitely for those one-offs. The assumption was the ability to quickly put together a streamlined, effective opportunity in line with the business's needs, and that during disaster response and into disaster recovery, placing volunteers and managing expectations is difficult. This is all based on your points about possible difficulties engaging the communities.
Wow, boy, talk about an immediate response too. Wow, that's incredible. I think it does come down to capacity and timing. You know, do you need to get board members involved? Or are there other volunteers maybe that can help you sometimes with some of those projects that come off, those one-offs? I like to call them third-party events that necessarily aren't necessarily controlled under your agency or you. But they're really wanting to do something. I always advise, if you can, then maybe to steer them to some of the things that you do to begin that engagement with them and build that partnership with them. And of course, start small. Do what you're capable of managing. Only because I have this problem at my job. I tend to say yes a lot. And sometimes I think I can do everything. And then at the end, the results maybe aren't blockbuster, and so sometimes it looks like maybe it's easier to say no to one or two of the projects and make sure that the other ones are coming out with the fullest impact that they can. So do you guys get a lot of
Mark,
go ahead.
And Mark is kind of echoing that sentiment, which she's absolutely right, and a willingness to say no, not right now, which is very, very hard, and you're so right. And then in terms of capacity, I think this should be tattooed on our foreheads maybe. Better to do that, to say no thank you, than to have an opportunity that doesn't go well, she thinks.
Right.
It is so easy to say yes.
Okay, any other comments on the chat box?
No, I don't see anything.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next slide. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of the elements for successful community engagement. And again, this is kind of a, maybe take a few pieces, maybe some of them work for you, maybe the whole line works for you. It depends on the level of engagement and the level of impact that you're looking to make. So first, you want to build some kind of foundation, right? You want to have a knowledge of the community, who's out there, who can support you, who are the players, who are those stakeholders that are making things happen, and that maybe align with your mission and vision. And of course, learning about your community resources as well, the other agencies that are out there, what they're doing and how they're impacting folks. Also look maybe for strong partnerships, folks you've already partnered with that mattered to you, that believe in your mission, that already support you. I call them low-hanging fruit to my staff and talk to them about these are people that want to be engaged and they want to be involved. Maybe they just don't know how, and so it's our job to help them find other ways and other avenues to become stronger partners. And then to have a culture of community engagement, that folks know that when they've contacted you or when they're working with you, that progress happens and they can see the impact that they've made helping your organization. And they feel like they're a partner and not just perhaps a bit player in that. And again, that helps with your credibility as you begin to engage more and more folks in the community. And those partnerships can matter. So then you also want to know the goal of your engagement activity. So there's several different levels, essentially, of what that engagement activity could be. First, it could just be simply awareness. You want people to know about your program. Maybe it's just handing flyers out, making sure that people understand why you're there. Perhaps you need an enrollment or usage or an involvement kind of strategy to engage folks. Maybe you have a after school program where folks need to sign up, and so you're getting them to actually need to take a step, right? So how do you make that easy for them to sign up? How do you make it convenient for them that it doesn't cause a lot of barriers as well? Then maybe there's an education piece for folks. A lot of agencies have an important mission, and we find that it's important to talk about what you do and how you do it. And so for us, there's a lot of education. We talk about cancer nutrition. We talk about why our diets are the way they are, because we know that people who care about food become engaged very quickly with us when we talk about things that matter to them. And so folks who are in the education field and folks who understand that education piece can be richly rewarded. Are you looking to motivate change? Are you looking maybe to have a policy change, to have something go through legislature? So that's a whole nother level of planning, a whole nother level of direction you need to take and engagement. Could be many steps that happen for that. And then, of course, there's empowerment too. Are you looking to empower everybody to also be able to take charge and to help act on your behalf as well? And then the third step would be to design those activities to use the best practice strategies. So go where people are, right? Who are your constituents and where are they? How do you come and match them? I often tell our agency that if they want to engage the local community that is right in our heart of where we are, then we need to be available when they are. And they are not available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. That is not where we are as an agency in our zone where we are. So we should look at weekend programming potentially to be able to get that community to be involved. Make the process accessible. If it's not easy, you're going to be in trouble. I look at it kind of like an anthill. Maybe there's lots of different ways to get in and lots of ways to go once you get there. So maybe they start out decorating a bag, and then maybe they donate a box of cereal, and then maybe they give a $25 gift down the road, allowing them to be flexible with however they want to engage you at any point in time to go forward or reverse, right? Customize the culture and circumstance. You want to invest in those ongoing relationships because they do matter. Foster your community capacity, continually building those relationships, and use the media strategically. And I think we talk a lot about that all the time. Certainly lots of ways to engage them effectively through programming, Instagram, right, Facebook, all those different ones there. If you want to go ahead and click to the next slide there, Gretchen. We've got a little. Do you guys see this to be true? A lot of social network ads going on out there. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Just a comment from Javita, who says this is excellent. Lists the importance of appropriate activities to achieve specific outcomes. So she's talking about your graphic on the previous page. I really like that too.
Oh, thank you. We could certainly go back and talk about a couple of those pieces if anybody knew something that's specific they wanted to talk about. I found that graphic to be able to kind of just explain it from beginning to end and all the pieces. Again, you might only use one or two of them, depending on what level of engagement you're looking for.
Jovita also wants to add that you can even add input before step 1, money, staff time, etc., to accomplish. Then step 4 would be outcomes and evaluation. We love the input, please. That's great, Jovita. Thank you. And I'm so glad you're on the call today.
Absolutely. I think she's right especially about the outcome and evaluations, to look back and reflect and say what worked or what didn't work, and how would we make that better next time, and who are the key players and what role did they play, and was there a balance of power, and did everybody achieve those outcomes? Without that, you won't know what the result is. So yes, thank you, Javita. I really do appreciate that. So speaking of social media, let's see here. I'm going to just take a moment and read real quickly from one of my favorite books. It's called Volunteer Engagement 2.0, and it's 35 experts that share what's next in volunteering. And I got this from, of course, the Energize website. And this is about volunteer engagement on the social web from Amy Sample Ward. And she says that really, realistically, there's 5 ways that social media can impact your agency. And social media can't be your only form of communication. Email still rules, and there's no substitute for a phone call. But social media is a valuable and unique channel for engagement. And it has 5 characteristics that directly enhance the volunteer experience. First, it's in real time, so it allows for you and your volunteers to connect and respond immediately. It's public, so social media operating in public means you can connect your volunteers to the greater community or quickly move your content from a small group to a large audience. And think about how easy it is to share things, so it's very shareable, photos, videos, or text. Whether it's through likes or shares. You can go multi-directional, so you can post it on multiple channels, and you can easily go engaging multiple people at one time. And it becomes very personal, too, where folks have a personal voice. So I think we find that even though social media is overtaking us, it could be a critical step in engagement. Somebody here wants to chat. I love that.
Do you want to go on to the next slide?
Gretchen, do we have somebody that had a question in the chat box?
No. Jovita was just saying that she liked to chat in the chat box.
Oh. Tell her I'd love to co-present with her one day. Right, Jovita?
There you go.
Right. I think, again, we're talking about the budget. Make sure you advocate for that budget, right, if you can. Okay, yeah, let's go to the next slide here. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the best practices that I found that could include, and of course, we'd like you to type in the chat box as well any of the other ones that I'm missing, because I know I'm missing quite a few. So know that your constituents want to align with something that matters to them. It could be your mission, it could be your values, right? It could be your processes too. Those could really matter a lot to them. You want to make it really easy for them to participate at whatever level matters to them. And build on some of those individual and community strengths. Take those experiences and those things that people do really well and let them do that for you. Let the chefs cook, right? Let the bakers bake, right? Let the organizers organize. They're giving a part of them that matters to you, and that can be important too. Along with relationships matter, right? Listen to what they're looking to get from it and respond. Make sure that it's always a two-way street. Again, so that would essentially make it a learning environment for all. They may not have gone through this themselves as well, and they may not understand what the outcome is, and they might be looking to you as the expert, as a program person, as the agency that, like, they know how to do all of these things. And so sometimes it helps them to just know that it can be a learning experience for everybody. And don't be afraid of conflict as you explore. You have to be able to state what your goals are and what their goals are, and make sure that you're having common ground. I wouldn't say go into it fighting necessarily, but certainly don't be afraid to be able to state your case, right? And I think this is one of my favorite things, is respond to the good in people. I think that you're going to find that's really what they want to do, is just help. They just don't know how. You have to help them navigate how to get from point A to point B, right? And maybe you can look at it as an art and not a science, and perhaps you provide those resources whenever they're available. One of the things that we could provide as an agency at Project Angel Heart is we probably could provide a lot of media support. We have a pretty darn crack team that could post the information on Facebook, that could get the information out. We potentially could print some posters and some other information for them. Perhaps we give them guidelines, make sure they have our proper logo, so that they're representing us well too. So I think even some of those things, maybe they're, again, a volunteer or board member, is their connection to be able to see this project through. Some other things we found is that we do this welcome series that allows every single person that comes into contact with our agency to get a welcome letter, whether they came as an in-kind donation of $2 as a cereal box, or whether they came as a volunteer, or whether they did a group opportunity, or whether they made a financial contribution. They get a welcome letter saying thank you for that and what the impact would be from what they've given, and other ways to get involved. And we find that they become very engaged through that series. And then, of course, thank yous, lots and lots of thank yous.
Mark,
Okay.
I've got a couple comments. One
Great.
is from Jovita, talking, just stepping back quickly about the social media piece. And she says, this is great. And I think it's important to align social media with the channels you spoke of in the previous slide. And then Navarra says, I really believe in the don't be afraid of conflict. You really want to make sure it is a good fit for you, your clients, and them. This comes by clearly stating what you need. Also, it allows an opportunity to share information about community needs that they just don't know.
Fantastic.
And then Jovita chimes in, thank you. Perhaps partnerships. If your plans align, for example, with a coalition doing advocacy for a particular focus area, you could extend your reach through their avenues.
Boy, you sure can. That's a really powerful tool to be able to extend your reach, by letting others help do that. We call that peer-to-peer fundraising or peer-to-peer acknowledgement, right? Where folks who connect to you help spread your word, help your mission happen. Wow, that's some great stuff. Any other great ideas, best practices? Okay, I think we can move on then to the next slide. This isn't true for every one of you here today. Every one of you now is a community manager. How about that? Okay, let's see if we have any questions, and then I think we'll wrap it up with our announcements. I know that we have recorded this program, and we're going to be able to share that with you as well, so that you'll have access to some of those slides that may matter to you down the way. And please feel free to reach out as well if you have any questions or if you'd like to engage in any other discussions. It matters a lot to me, and I know it matters to Gretchen as well.
Jovita says, thank you for the Lord of the Rings reference. Yes, I love that meme. That's great. And it's actually really true. Well,
okay.
Let's go ahead and move on to the announcements. Mark?
Sounds great. So we've got a couple of pretty exciting announcements and good news that we want to share with you. We do have the Volunteer Management Hybrid Conference coming up on October 24th. It's held in US and Canada, and registration is now open for that particular conference. It's really an exciting opportunity. We have some amazing speakers that are going to be talking to us. It's kind of in a TED Talk format, and I think you'd really enjoy it. So if you get a chance, please go to our website to check that out. We also have board recruitment in full swing. So if you're interested in joining the board, we'd love to have you. You know, first, we'd love to have you as a member too. We think that there's an awful lot of value in what we can bring to you as volunteer engagement professionals. And there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of connection, just a lot of learning. You are not alone. And we'd love for you to join us and be part of our team and help us either in board recruitment or even as a member. You'll see that a lot of the seminars and webinars we do really matter to us, and hopefully they matter to you as well. And let's see, our next Alive Academy is coming up in about a month. It's on Friday, September 28th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. And it's a stacking up report. It's going to tell us a little bit about what CEOs say about our profession. So I'm very curious myself to hear what they think. We've seen a lot of upward mobility in who we are and credibility, and I'd love to see what some of the CEOs are thinking. And so feel free to check out our homepage and our calendar for more information at volunteeralive.com.
Volunteeralive.org. Sorry, Mark, that's a typo. I missed that when you sent it. But it is volunteeralive.org, and I'll just chime in quickly. The Stacking Up report is fascinating. It was a wonderful survey of over 600 CEOs and executive directors. And there's some great input in there, but there's also some great advocacy tips, which I think is always helpful for our peers. I just want to encourage everybody to make time to attend that. We found sometimes that Fridays can be a great day, but the session will also be recorded. So if you do register and you cannot make it, just like today's session, it is also recorded. So tomorrow, about 23 hours from now, you'll get a thank you with a link to the recording. And a brief survey. We'd love to just get your input and feedback about this presentation. If you've got suggestions or ideas for future presentations, we'd really love to hear back from you. I don't see any other questions or comments. Mark, I just thought I would throw it back to you and say thank you so much for your time to present today and to share your information and your experience working in Project Angel Heart. And I would bet Mark is happy to answer questions or connect with you individually. And I can also add that, if it's okay, Mark, your contact information, if anybody would like to connect.
I would love that. It means a lot to me to connect with anybody in this, and anybody across the whole country. I like to learn from them. I like to gain knowledge from them, and I love to serve as a collaborator and brainstorm partner as well.
Yeah, there's such great value to being connected. There's nothing like face-to-face community, with your, whether it's your local association or with your peers, but there's also a lot to be said for being able to reach out to someone, across the county, across the state, across the nation, and you could pick up the phone or email with somebody and be able to connect. It brings us all closer together. This is a wonderful community, and people are usually really happy to share what they've created, so you don't have to reinvent all of that. And I just think, it's that saying, none of us is strong as all of us. And so, we are here for each other, and I really appreciate that about our community.
Very well said, Gretchen. Thank you, too, for doing with all the technical aspects of today's webinar.
You are very welcome. And if there is nothing else, we'll go ahead and end the call and the webinar, and just want to thank everybody very much for being here today. And again, I will include in that follow-up email Mark's contact information, and hope to see you next month, and have a great week. And if Jovita says thank you, and you are so welcome. And I just want to thank each of you personally for the work that you do as well in your community, for your clients, for the work that you do, and all the efforts that you're putting out. It's Thursday. If you work a traditional banker's week, hang in there. It's almost Friday. If you don't, I hope that your next day off is rewarding and restful.
Yes, thanks, everybody. Take care now.
Thank you, Mark. All righty. Thanks, everybody. Have a terrific day. Bye-bye.